Hey, good day everybody. This is Terry, your Integrative Physio. This is an impromptu video spurred on by my brother Kevin, who asked me to help him with his 4 decades worth of neck, upper back, and low back pain using some of the principles of cortical field re-education, kind of how I approach my patients. So let's take a look. So these are some still photos I took of him. You can see his posture here, forward head, he's got a step at the CT junction, kyphotic, but also very, very flat mid and low back, bent knees, forward head you can notice in the side profile, and in the front you can see that his head and his neck on trunk is just slightly off a little bit. He has a slight torsion in his spine. It's not structural, it's just habitual posture. He also sits back on his heels a little bit in standing. So here's a progressive lesson, just to take the hands out, arms out as you walk, and then you can start to introduce incrementally rotating to one side and walking with your head straight, and then going from your right to your left in terms of trunk rotation with the 4 steps process. So you go 4 steps, turn to the right, 4 steps, turn to the left, like this. You notice he gets it. He's very coordinated. The initial hiccup was just instructional. And just by doing that, which is like 5 minutes or less, his posture changed. And so here he is showing me what he does when he teaches tango for posture and using the footsteps for balance. But you also notice in that movement there, he has still a forward head position. So this is the butterfly movement into hook line. This is a great way to do it so that you don't jam up the hip and the low back. It's a much easier way to bring your legs into hook line posture with the least of effort. So he's playing around with this. And he'll come into starting on the right side, the lesson. So we start with the side that it's easiest to move on because we're using overflow here principles, and we're instructing the left half of in this case, the left half of his body to improve in mobility in his spine, that is. So I'm not correcting him at the moment. I just wanted to get him in the movement itself. He has a pinch in his low back on the, I think it's more central. And what I instructed him to do was take a few breaths, go right to the edge of the discomfort, not sort of an injurious kind of pain that makes you reflexively pull back, but a few breaths and see if you can actually change it, modify it a little bit, make it a little bit more easy and more malleable. And if you can, that's a winner right there. You'll get an immediate change in the neural programming here. So you'll notice that actually his knee is now pointing up because I instructed him to keep his foot pushing down into the earth while his knee stays straight. And when he does that, his anterior hip just opens wide open. And that changes his rotation in his back, and he actually loses his pinch. So there's a component of his hip tightness in his iliopsoas and his quads and his hip rotators that is affecting how his back is moving. So now you'll notice that he's starting to turn his head ipsilaterally to the left with his hip. And I instructed him to turn as if they're like gears. They're all moving together in synchronicity. And you'll notice his motion in his neck is fairly limited. So when I did work with him a little bit more, I guided his head into more pure rotation, and I took him into a little bit further with some overpressure, which he felt all the way down his spine. Now that's important because he's habituated to a restricted range of motion because he's been living with some discomfort off and on in his neck, but mostly pretty chronically in his low back. So we're giving him a little bit more range to work with. We're letting his central nervous system know it's okay to move there. So there are no reps here. I instruct my patients and clients to continue to do it until the novelty wears off. Novelty is very important for the brain for learning. And once the novelty's gone, the brain kind of like shuts down a little bit and starts to kind of focus on other things. So when you're done, you're done. So he's kind of come down into a resting state in a moment here. And when we rest for minimum 30 seconds, preferably about a minute is good so that we can let the nervous system integrate the new movement pattern. Yeah. So here he is coming into work now on his left side. Some people ask if you should do the right side, then the left side, or take a break, get up and move, and it depends. So sometimes you might just spend one session working one side, then get up and reassess one of your comparable signs here. It could be trunk mobility, it could be walking with rotation, etc. It could be just simply balance. Yeah. So the other added component here in the work is there's now some trunk side bending. And he's kind of playing with that a little bit. And you'll notice that as he's rotating to the right, he starts to move his left hand down toward his ankle or toward his foot. You might have seen him do it a little bit earlier. And that's just the introduction of side bending as he's rotating to the right. Now we can couple that with either ipsy or contralateral movement in the neck and the head. It's a pretty powerful move, and again, I help to do a little bit of overpressure with them by taking their shoulders and helping them into further side bending, in this case to the left, so his hand would be reaching to his left foot. That would be the last step in this particular lesson here. So he's just doing just a little bit of it, not too much. Yeah. He likes to hold it because he's feeling the engagement. All right, so as he finishes up here, let's get him up and let's see how he looks. And his posture has changed drastically. He's more of a habituated functional posturer than he is structurally based, which is good because he'll do quite well with these lessons. We'll check back with him in a few months and see how he's doing, give you guys an update. All right, bye for now, folks.